And I have a guest commentator with me for the rest of the program to offer his perspective on the big news of the weekend, which is obviously Saturday's governorship elections. And he is Godbless Otubure, president of Ready to Lead Africa, a youth-led civil society group that, among other things, focuses on sustaining democracy. Thank you very much indeed for coming in. I know you had a bit of a challenge getting in, but you obviously surmounted that challenge. And here you are. And do you see democracy being sustained in Nigeria?
I mean, there is a collective interest, especially from my generation and the Gen Zs that are coming behind us. Of course, when you've tasted a system where you were able to create and work and not go into the lashes of the military men, you definitely want to sustain that kind of government. But however, is this the kind of democracy we want to sustain? Clearly not. It is a much more inclusive, responsive, and result-focused democracy. That is what my generation wants to sustain. So yes, we can, we will, and we just hope that the errors being made now are not so deep that we cannot rescue it. And
of course, we've got these off-season elections tomorrow, Saturday. Obviously very stressful for a lot of people, particularly the INEC staff. But we had the resident electoral commissioner in Bayelsa State, who was very calm and very professional. And then we have the woman in the Imo State who gets up and walks out just before we get to her. But that's a story, a different story there. What is your sense of these elections tomorrow, how important they are, and how much of a test case they're going to be for INEC?
Well, for importance, it is critical. For the test case for INEC, I think if INEC gets this right, it will give a lot of Nigerians tremendous hope moving into the next general elections. But if this is not done well, it would impact, especially amongst young people, our confidence in believing that we can actually get our leaders through the ballot. So for the importance, it is important because, I mean, that's the first time you're putting 3 obstacle elections together in one day, and you've got about 7 to 8 months of preparation and planning, and clearly we want to see that INEC will do better. We had a couple of meetings with the chairman and the leadership of INEC. I mean, as a stakeholder in the process, working with our partners, the Nigerian Future Funds, what it does for us is have this very close encounter with the leadership of INEC. And they've made commitment to say, look, we will be better this time. So let's see. It is important. Test case for INEC, let's see what they do, because we've made a lot of recommendations, right? For the 2023 general elections, our organization, Ready to Lead Africa, got 750 observers in each of the LGAs. And when we finished our report and came back to INEC and said, look, your own people, security officials, were denying accredited observers access to Collation Center. I hope it doesn't happen again. Let's see what happens in Kogi, Imo, and Bayelsa tomorrow, and then we can test. Also, we told them logistics. You cannot use unprofessional logistical companies who don't have an idea of results as part of why they will be paid. If you keep using NERTW or whatever it is, and then they came back and said the professional ones don't want to, come in and do the work with them. No. You reach out to them first. Let us know, and so let's see what the lessons are, what they've learned, and what are the next action steps that they take to see that Kogi, Bayelsa, and Imo comes out better.
And of course, looking at Imo State, for example, I mean, several parties have been, over a period of time, asking for the removal of the resident electoral commissioner there, Professor Sylvia Agu, but INEC ignored that demand. I mean, how much does the fact that many of the political parties have lost confidence in the REC reduce the trust they have in INEC and in the conduct of those elections?
Tremendously, of course. And I think it has to be looked from 2 angles. And that's what that's what democracy affords you to do when you look at it dispassionately. Because clearly there will be people who say, I want this. Others says, I want that. INEC is an independent institution. You can lodge your complaints, but is there any part of the INEC guideline that says if XYZ political parties lodge a complaint against our staff without probable cause, I mean, internally, so what is the reason for calling for her redeployment? Is she a card-carrying party member of APC? Has she been seen frolicking with APC? Has she been seen as part of the governors in a team? Are there visible, right, investigative reports or evidence to say this person is compromised? If you don't have that, then what you have is sensationalism. So
well, what INEC said was that it's mere suspicion.
Great. So
and that they can't operate on mere suspicion.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we cannot say because you raised, then we should, no, then I don't have independence, right? So what it also does is it puts INEC under a lot more scrutiny. There's more attention to how the woman, to how this rec, conducts herself on the job. So if political parties,
really the way to dismiss all of this is for her to do her job,
do your job,
totally objectively,
do your job,
and without appearing to lean in one direction or another.
That is it. That's it.
And so it would not be unfair to say that INEC's credibility rests a lot on what happens tomorrow.
Absolutely, it does. I mean, because there are a lot of young people, and I always talk about young people because I'm in that age group now. There are a lot of disappointments that came out of the 2023 general elections. It's no longer news that guidelines were not followed. I mean, that's old school now, right? So, INEC now has one of the most important opportunity to tell Nigerians, look, we're going to get it right. The reason is, for some of us who are leaders of our organizations, we meet with the leadership of INEC from time to time. And I remember the quarterly CSO meetings that we have with the commission. And the chairman was telling us about the issue of the glitches that happened with the electronic transmission of results on that day, and how he also was surprised at what had happened. And we said, look, you can tell us in this closed perimeter, but you've got to go and tell the Nigerians what they need to know. So we've heard you, we don't speak for you, but you go tell them. So INEC's credibility is at stake. We know that there are rogue agents in INEC. Some of the recommendations that we have, recommended to INEC, we can see some of them being done. So they've trained more ad hoc staff, with longer time. They are now more open to learning and changing their operations, internally, and also as they work with partners. We've seen this things. And even they themselves have said, look, there are some people amongst us that have acted otherwise, not what we asked them to do. So they are also taking time to purge those people out of the system, of course, but they are a government institution. I can get to my office tomorrow, somebody isn't performing, I say, you're fired. But it's not like that with government. Yeah. So a lot of things, when you realize that you're working within a context, you are able to then look at these issues and say, look, okay, maybe it's not black and white like we say it. But of course, I agree with you. INEC's credibility, integrity, and the trust of Nigerians, for them, is at stake tomorrow. Well,
we'll have to watch it very closely. Obviously, it'll be hugely covered here on Arise News. But let me ask you to tell us a bit more about your organization, Ready to Lead Africa. I mean, we know that one of the things it does is focusing on sustaining democracy, but it does a lot more than that, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely. So one of the things, like today we opened our situation room. It's called the Octagon Situation Room.
To monitor the elections.
Yeah, to observe.
Right, to observe
they said to us, we don't monitor because we're not the umpires.
Okay, right.
We observe and report.
But you observe from a distance, do you?
No, we're observing right at the polling unit.
Right.
So one of the things we've done at Ready to Lead Africa is that we've taken election credibility very seriously and election technology. So we've developed a mobile application and a web app that collects data, working with people, and we are able to aggregate this data and we push them all to a command center. So I follow the result platform. It's something that young people are accessing through their phones. We have 3 stages of observers. We have the citizen observers. We have observers that are deployed to LGA collation centers. We have observers that are going to state collation center. The idea is we're attacking the result at every level. The reason is this: we want to be able to tell Nigerians, this is who has won, this is who won this LGA, this is who won this polling unit, because that way we are able to say, look, as young people, we can question outcomes that don't meet what we've seen.
Absolutely.
So again, at Ready to Lead Africa, beyond elections, another thing we're doing is our Ready to Trade initiative. We believe that young Africans must now rise above the trap of being civically active and economically passive. It's not going to help us sustain our democracy. So what we're doing is we're focused on livelihoods. We're focused on civic participation. So it must go together. If somebody is selling their vote for 2,500, that person may be politically active, but economically passive. So what we're doing...
they have to survive.
They have to survive.
Right.
So if you plug the gap, right? If you use trade as a tool, and we're leveraging the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, which is taking us across, the continent. So we're doing that. We're also empowering a lot of women with our She Can Serve programs. Quite a lot of things that we're doing just to ensure that we're not the traditional CSO, but we're more involved in, progress and pushing people to
it sounds very exciting.
Yeah.
But I mean, for the moment, obviously the main focus is the election.
Currently, right now.
I think what you're doing with your observation post is very interesting. So at the end of the elections, do come back and talk to us again.
Absolutely. I'll be glad to do so.
Thank you very much indeed. Godbless Otubure is president of Ready to Lead Africa, and it focuses, amongst other things, on sustaining democracy. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much, Charles, for having me.
That's it for this edition of a rather fraught edition of Arise Prime Time. Join us again next week from me and the entire team here in Abuja and Owerri and Yenagoa. Bye-bye, and thank you for watching.